Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. I'm Kel McDonald,
I'm Bones Leopard.
and this is Wolf and Bones' Comic Club, where we are reading classic comics that we feel like we should have read, starting with Berserk. This week we are reading Berserk Volume 6. Um, and Bones, how did you feel about this volume in general?
Honestly, still enjoying this kind of more political intrigue part of the world. I will say, so the cover art for this particular volume, immediately I was like, oh, I feel like there's gonna be some sort of like like almost like with it like this veil over Guts's eyes. I don't know. I was probably reading into it, but the second I saw the cover and his eyes were covered with this armor shield, I was like, "Oh, I wonder if he's gonna discover something in this volume."
It's gonna discover
Um,
sadness and trauma. Uh,
yep.
That's his usual helmet. He's been wearing that the last few volumes.
Yeah, I think for some reason just it as a cover.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was just like, "Oh,
But so we pick up where we left off, where Griffith loves Guts. They're in love. Good panel of looking down at them being in love.
all the love."
Yeah, I love these little leaves in the foreground. And
Yeah.
and you wanted to zoom in on the them looking at each other dramatically.
Yes. Is it oh, prolonged eye contact. I
Yeah,
had that stuck in my head when
that
I saw
was your
that.
note. Prolonged eye contact. Um, and it's interesting that we got leaves blowing in the wind. Um, the way I feel like you normally get cherry blossoms in anime blowing in the wind. Um,
Yes.
do you know what the cherry blossoms are supposed to signify when they do that?
No, I honestly haven't really thought about it other than oh, it's like a romantic
I looked it up
feelings
to get
moment.
like the specific thing because I remember one person who liked manga and anime a lot put it in their comic and then were told that they were using it wrong because it's not just a romantic moment. It
Uh,
is like because cherry blossoms bloom for such a brief period of time, it's supposed to be the fleetingness of a relationship instilled in that moment. So it is romantic, but it's like specifically the fleetingness of a romantic feeling. So the fact that he's using leaves here, like a little bit like their cherry blossoms, is interesting.
yeah.
But obviously, this is vaguely European, so there's no cherry blossoms. Um,
Well, and then it's literally happening right after it's like, "Hey, I don't need a reason to care about you,
yeah.
bro."
Um, and yeah, so that's it's interesting that that's he's using that. And then we get introduced to the king and a noble, and I took a screen cap of this dude's face and said, "There's only room for one white-haired commander with flowing white hair. One commander with flowing white hair." Um,
Yeah, they do have very similar haircuts.
but then the king, I like that they're setting up the king to be sort of more reasonable than you would expect royalty to be. Like, he cares about winning
Yeah.
battles more than maintaining the nobility status. Uh, so I thought
I'll be honest, that surprised me, but then when we met the queen, I was like, okay, here's
she's
the what kind of what I was
I
most
have a note on the queen later.
okay.
But we get Princess Charlotte.
It was adorable.
Yeah, her Princess Leia hair. Um, And you can really tell in this bit that he read some shoujo manga for inspiration, because her tripping and Griffith catching her is classic, like, rom-com, like, our hands touched, like,
Yes.
really leaning in on that shoujo. And then we have Griffith gets yelled at for touching the princess because he's a commoner. And my note was a reference to a movie you haven't seen, which is The Death of Stalin.
Yes.
And I'm gonna see. I put this clip in our Discord so that way I hope that the audio picks it up. But let's see if it does.
I mean, I'm smiling, but I am very fucking furious. Jesus.
Just the Jason Isaacs' character in Death of Stalin going, "I'm smiling, but I'm really fucking furious."
Yeah. Which is exactly what that facial
yeah,
expression is
that's
saying.
what it is. You're gonna get murdered later. That's what that smile means.
Mhm.
And Bones, you should watch The Death of Stalin. It's very funny. It's about all the Russian officials trying to take control of Russia when Stalin dies.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, no, I mean, it looked really funny.
yeah. Um, and then we have this prince being really jealous. And he is all like, fuck these ladies, thinking that Griffith is prettier than me. So mad. Um, uh, and then he talks to a dude that's like setting up assassinations and stuff. And my
Oh yeah,
note,
man, that guy is
yeah,
sinister.
my note on this prince clearly hasn't played much CK, Crusader Kings.
Yeah.
Because as we know, um, he's clearly got a low intrigue score.
Very
And
much so.
uh, yeah, so they're talking about accidents might happen, and this bald guy really has to spell it out for the prince. The prince is so bad at this. Um,
Yeah. Well, like, is he technically a prince? Because I know he's like the king's brother, right?
he's the king's brother's son, so that still makes him a prince, I believe. He's just
Okay.
not, because he's in line for the throne after Charlotte. Because they say that
Okay.
he's second in line for the throne. So, um, uh, so something bad would have to happen to Charlotte for him to be the next in line. And again, he'd be more on the ball of this if he played Crusader Kings more. And I also wrote "Don't Be Suspicious," and it made me think of John Ralphio and his sister going, "Don't be suspicious, don't be
Oh
suspicious,"
my god. For
and
real.
yeah, it's just like this bald guy has to like really lay it on thick for this prince to get it. Like, he dumb.
Yeah. Like, it's like no longer intrigue anymore. It's just like, I'm literally spelling this out for you as much as possible.
Yeah. It's really like he gives him hints, and then he's like, "Okay, you should just shoot him with a poison arrow."
I did think that was funny, where it's like, all right, I just, you know what, I'm just gonna plan this whole thing for you.
Yeah. And you sent this nice panel of Griffith, which I believe is when the bald guy is talking up about how great
Yeah,
Griffith
I
is.
purposely cut out like his face. You can see his cheek in the bottom corner,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, nah, I just want to focus on Griffith.
It's a good horse.
Very good horse, yeah. Just a cool pose in general.
Yeah. This is like the type of pose that's used in statues.
Yeah.
And then we have Guts is on the roof thinking about his boyfriend.
I don't know if I sent the subtitle for this one, but when I saw this panel, I was like, the sword is his penis.
That's later. You didn't send me any subtitles for your panels, but
Oh no.
I
Okay, that's
assumed
not.
that's where you were going. So yeah, he's thinking about his boyfriend. This is where I'm like, the sword is his penis. I will wield my sword for his sake, his penis for his sake. But that's a great panel, despite our crass jokes about it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just like that. Yeah, I like the scene, and I like the like where he's still out in the open,
Yeah.
like alone.
And
So he's like still separated, kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah. And more, don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. And this is a very nice like title page for the next chapter.
Yes.
Good do for the princess. Really really living up those shoujos. And then I take pictures of funny panels too. You sent me more cool panels. But the fox getting away and then Griffith just yells at it to scare it. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean not Griffith, Guts just yells at it. I was like, I love Guts just yelling at the fox. And then we have Griffith being smooth operator. Talking to the
Yes.
princess about how she doesn't like hunting because it's too violent. And he teaches her to whistle. This is again like pure shoujo romance novel, like cute moment.
Yeah. Like, honestly, that like the face, like the final panel on that page, I just felt like his face, like looking at her with the leaf. I was just like, oh, so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And then her horse gets spooked and Griffith comes to the rescue. Pure romance novel shit. Like really
100%.
cranking that up. And then it's interrupted by assassins. And then Griffith gets porn star lips instead of Casca.
He really does, and that was gonna be like one thing where it's like, I am kind of used to like in a lot of shonen manga, like usually the main character is the one that like has the same face as all the female characters, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, but this one, Griffith being the one that has the
the
same
girly
kind of
face.
face as the females, yeah, it's just interesting.
And it hits his behelet instead of his heart. And we have both of his significant others being just upset about that. Casca because you were almost poisoned, and Guts because he's thinking about the prophecy that he got last volume.
Yeah.
And then another, don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. I wrote that a lot while reading this volume. So his intrigue challenge failed, and he got found out. Low intrigue score, not good at playing Crusader Kings.
Yep.
He's found out. I did like these panels because it's like the sun is setting on this dude's power.
Yes.
Bam, symbolism. And that's a great like framing device with the silhouette on the window frame.
Honestly, he's so good at doing that.
Yeah.
Like,
He's good at that shit. And then we have Griffith wants to tell everyone reading is fun.
That's why I was like, oh, he's the nerd boyfriend.
He's a nerd. But he's a nerd that is showing off porn. Hey, look at this porn.
It's just like, see, books have interesting things too.
I would like to point out that in the following panels, Guts is looking through the porn.
This is true.
Yeah, want to borrow it, and he is looking through it the rest of the scene. And then Griffith is like, kill a guy after you're done looking at that porn. And clearly Griffith has a better intrigue score and is better at Crusader Kings. Because he got the maids involved. Good job.
Like it's so interesting what'll happen if you're like nice to the people around you, and
Also, he's hot,
how much they'll
so
be like. That's true. That's also true.
being hot does help you a lot in life. And then we have Guts goes to infiltrate the castle, and we see the prince guy sword training his son.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings Guts' dad feelings back. And I like that they never forget about, like, they never stop cutting back to how Guts feels about his dad.
Yeah.
Like, it clearly weighs on him a lot. And even in his, like, happiest moment, he can't help but think back about his dad that he killed.
Yeah.
And then I have a note that Prince Guy is actually a better dad than Guts' dad.
I would agree with this. So yeah.
Because when the monk is like, this training is too fierce, he's like, maybe you're right. Maybe I was too hard on my kid, and maybe I was taking out my frustrations on him. And I should go easy on him.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're gonna humanize him a little bit before we murder him.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, he was a slightly good father? Question mark.
And then I have him thinking about Griffith and getting mad, and my note was, stupid sexy Flanders.
I mean, good note.
Yeah.
That does fit Griffith, I feel like, very well.
And then cool fight with Guts that is over extremely quickly. I do like that Guts just plows through this dude.
Yeah, I was very curious on how it was gonna go, because I was like, well, the guy's seen Guts, so Guts has to succeed.
Like, he doesn't even have time to draw his sword.
Yeah.
And then he very quickly kills the son that saw that happen.
Yeah, which,
I love, like, that whole, like, we can probably tell, but it happens so quickly. And Guts has a "Are we the baddies" moment.
Oh, 100%.
Feels bad, man.
Like, man, well, like, I was only gonna kill the dad, not the,
But I like that we also, we have, like, multiple pages of him realizing and holding on the son. So, like, holding on the son is quicker than killing the dad. I mean, holding on the son is longer than killing the dad. And then we, sad times.
Yeah.
And I like the use of lighting of Guts jumping in the sewer. Um,
Yeah. I will say, like, it did take me a second to back on like a rock or a brick or something.
yeah.
But
And then he has a dream, more dad feelings. Um,
yeah.
and yeah, so it's just like I like that it's the dad feelings and how he sort of relates to the little boy that he just killed. Um, and he sees himself as the big monster that kind of looks like Nosferatu Zod. Uh,
Very complicated
yeah,
feelings.
it's real. Are we the baddies moment?
Yeah.
And then you like him waking up from his like concussion or whatever to walk home in the
Yeah, just
sewer.
like you said with like the lighting in the sewer, I just really like how he was just like, yeah, like it also I feel like made him feel like even more isolated.
Yeah. And then we have Casca is like, oh, he's a fuck up and he fuck him, and her complaining about him is interrupted by Guts showing up all bloody.
Yeah.
I like the
Which
positioning.
I do think it was
Yeah,
oh go ahead,
I
sorry.
like the positioning that she's the first one to see him all bloody.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting that it didn't seem like anybody else noticed he was bloody, like kind of thing. Like they all like at least to me, it didn't seem like any of the other troops really noticed what kind of condition he was in.
Yeah, like she only notices the arrow wound when she's up close to him, so it might be that everyone else
Yeah,
just thought he was muddy from training outside or whatever. Um,
that's true.
and then we have Griffith being smooth again, sojoing it up. He's in a shoujo manga while everyone else is in political intrigue fight manga.
Oh man.
And I like this shot of Griffith and Charlotte's reflection in the water.
Oh.
That's how you know
I
that.
know. I do like that he chooses like really interesting shots for even like moments that like most people would consider super boring
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, where it's just like he still keeps it visually interesting, which I think
Well, it's
like
also
even
he has
artists
this
today struggle.
stream of water is dividing them, so it's like even
Yeah.
though they're in a reflecting pool, there is a barrier between them. And then we have him talking about for no other's sake to accomplish it for himself, a dream. Like Griffith talking about his motivation, um,
Yeah.
and he eats dreams. Um,
Yeah.
well, it's supposed to be like his dream is so big that it eats everyone else's. So his dream is the one that devours tens of thousands of other dreams. And then he,
Which I guess like
oh,
is valid if it's like all these people have become his soldiers because they believe in him, so they are taking on his dream.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he talks about ultimately to be born and to simply live for no other reason. I can't abide such a lifestyle, and that's how Guts used to
Mhm.
live. So I was like subtweeting Guts, um,
Yeah.
and how Guts the way you used to live sucked, um, and I like also this cute little surprised princess face.
Yeah. He's so good at drawing. She's so cute.
And then Guts realizing that um, living just to survive was no good, that was a subtweet about him.
Yeah.
And then Griffith is above them both. Bam, symbolism.
Yeah, I did like that with like the him looking up and like watching the scene where it's like not only is like he's like above them, he's far away from
Yeah.
them, like
Um,
totally different worlds.
and then he talks about he doesn't have friends. And so there's a lot of discussion about this conversation. Um, because Griffith doesn't know that Guts can hear him. So is Griffith full of shit and lying to the princess to seem cool and impressive? Or does he really believe this?
Ah,
But yeah, to me, a friend is something else. Someone who would never depend on another's dreams. Someone who wouldn't be compelled by another and would be determined to pursue his own reason to live. And should anyone trample that dream, he would oppose him body and soul, even if the threat was me, myself. So, I think a friend is one who is my equal. Um, and
yeah,
then,
part of me, I would say that he is like this is how he feels because he's also like everything he's saying isn't something smooth to like seduce the princess kind of thing.
but he's impressing her, so it's not like seduction; it's impressing her, making him seem cool and smart.
I guess maybe I don't know. To me, I kind of feel like he like zoned out into his own little world and forgot where he was for a moment, but maybe not.
Um, but so counterpoint, he does keep going to save Guts
Yeah, that's true.
because Guts is his boyfriend. But I really love this page that is just
Yes.
Guts and Griffith and how much above Griffith Guts is. And Guts realizing they're not friends because they're not equals.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is,
Okay,
Griffith wouldn't have told Casca to do that assassination mission.
that's true.
He only told Guts.
And it was interesting because like he's like, "Hey, I want you to do this," and but Guts's response was like, "Why are you asking? Just order me to do it," which I thought was a very interesting response.
Yeah. Because he needs someone that needs to be willing to do it rather than someone who's going to reluctantly do it.
Yeah.
And we have Casca slightly confused. I think to lend credence to maybe that is what Griffith really feels is Casca is not surprised by anything Griffith is saying. Guts
Yeah.
has an epiphany. Casca is like, this is business as usual. And then Bald Guy comes back,
That's
and we have another intrigue challenge. And clearly, Griffith is better at Crusader Kings than the Prince.
he's been putting in all the hours.
If I made Guts in Crusader Kings, if I made Griffith in Crusader Kings, the game would tell me you're not allowed to have achievements because your person's too OP.
I believe that. Twitch is playing an ad. 12 more seconds.
I was briefly muted while I blew my nose. So
Okay.
you didn't miss anything. Um, I do like this bald guy trying to like put out feelers to see this guy's a shit stirrer. And we have evil Griffith. Like the shit stirrer guy's like, oh, he didn't react, so maybe it wasn't him, but I don't know, that was a coincidence. Um and yeah, Griffith giving him the evil eye.
That part was, yeah, it's so good. Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah. But I like that he's like, oh, it was the work of a demon, and then Griffith's like, no, it was the work of man. And
Yes.
then, are we sure it's not the work of a demon? Because you certainly look like a demon in this. And then when they're going,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
he might be a demon, but Guts isn't.
yeah. Uh, and then we have they're going in the front, and the princess gives Griffith um one of those heart shaped necklaces where you have other pieces. This is like so childish and naive, and it's a great
Yeah.
sort of her versus everyone else in this story. Like, and this is partly why I think maybe some of what Griffith said back on the fountain scene is just him trying to impress her. Because she is so like, oh my god, you're so cool. Like,
That's true.
in the way like a 14-year-old could only be. Like, this is so deep, man. Like,
That is true because I'm sure no one's ever talked to her the way he's talking to her, kind of
yeah.
thing.
And then we have the queen shows up, and I'm like, she's ready to serve some cunt.
Oh my gosh, for real.
Yeah, she's ready to gaslight gatekeep girl boss. And also, this is a great dress.
It is.
And then we have before they go into war, Guts thinking about he needs to be Griffith's equal.
Oh, all the feelings.
All the feelings. And you sent this big war page.
Yes.
You want to talk
It's
about
like
it?
so cinematic. Just like the storm and then the black placement for like the soldiers coming. I don't know. Like honestly, just looking at that page made me feel like I was watching a movie scene. I was like, oh, I have to.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt when there was like the torches coming in.
Yeah.
In the previous volume. Um, and then
Agreed.
great horses. So many horses. They're drawn great. Also, all the enemies have these fish faces.
I was wondering about that of like, is this like his way of depicting like that they're like just like completely different or
Well, okay, so we usually have Griffith's mercenary forces have mismatched armor. And so this force, it seems like the only differences in their armor are this one guy up top has spikes. So it might just be like to signify rank. Because these two guys in the middle are the same. And then their leader has like the most decked out fish armor.
yeah.
So since they're a more official army, they get matching armor that's on theme.
Yeah, that's fair. I did like that the horse's armor also matched his armor.
Yeah. And then we got I always take pictures of Guts mutilating some guy's face.
You really do.
So look at those teeth get knocked out. Even though his head's getting sliced in half. Great attention to
Just
detail.
all the damage.
And the way like the fish helmet breaks up here. Oh. It won't let me zoom in. There we go. So yeah, so up here, the way the fish helmet breaks is he cuts into the guy's face. And then he saves Casca from the misogynist.
Just, yeah.
Also, did you understand what was going on with Casca at the beginning of the fight?
I had a feeling only because I was trying to, and I still can't remember. There's a very like, oh, like a woman in battle, like being it was because of her period, and I was trying to remember what story that was, but I still haven't been able to figure out why. But it made me remember some I feel like I've read something like this before, kind of thing.
And then they fall because Casca faints because she has her period.
It's like
Griffith does not go to save them. I'm going to talk about this later, like, because there's more.
Okay.
Yeah, like,
okay.
I have a note. I'm going to get through all the period stuff before we dive into how periods work.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but then Griffith does not go to save Casca. And I think that is important. He has saved Griffith many times. Casca, who cares? Not that he doesn't care. It's more just like he doesn't send people after them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's both Kafka and Guts. Both.
But Guts wasn't injured when they fell, so I think he assumes that Guts is fine.
Yeah. That's true.
And they fall in the river. Guts saves Casca. And she has a fever. And he thinks it must be rough being a woman. After he figures out she's on her period. Okay, does Kentaro Miura know how periods work?
I mean, I feel like he probably knows that they happen, but he probably thinks that they like.
Because I could understand
maybe he had
if she had severe cramps. But getting a fever just because you have your period, that doesn't make sense. Like, if she was cramping that hard, I feel like it maybe would have started way before the battle. Like, I'm very much like, my notes were Kentaro Miura doesn't know how periods work. Guts doesn't know how periods work. No one knows how Guts. No one knows how periods work.
Yeah. The only thing I could think of what it was like for some reason my first thought was like, oh, I wonder if he had like a sister or somebody in his life who like whenever they got their period, they always would just say that they were sick. And so maybe that's what he associates it with.
Yeah. But like a fever specifically.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, this doesn't quite make sense. I could understand severe cramps. But I don't know. She should have gotten shot or stabbed or hit on the head or something before she fell. Because, like I said, I could buy severe cramps making her fight worse. But having a fever.
Right.
Sir.
No, because like if anything, I'm like if it was like just like honestly, even with a fever, I feel like instead of it being like a fever or something, or like maybe even like to me, I'm just like maybe I feel like she should have been more aggressive or something like that because she has to deal with this on top of dealing with her period.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, Lucky Dagger responded, fainting. I could see if it was really bad, but she would have been able to expect it
Yeah,
beforehand.
because
Which,
this
yeah,
is
agreed.
she's an adult lady. She has had multiple periods in her life at this point. She should know how
Mhm.
bad her periods are and how bad her cramps can get. And um yeah. But you sent this yo panel, which I assume you thought was funny.
I did.
Yo.
Because it's like almost like majestic in in like a way of like, oh, like there's something about it that like makes me think of like old timey paintings,
But
but
then
then
he's
just thinking
going
of the whole
yo.
scenario. Yeah.
Um And then I wrote anime because she like comedically throws everything at him.
Yes.
Um, and then we have she didn't ask to be born a woman, and I wrote trans Casca question mark.
I mean, I feel like if anything, it would just be she wishes she was someone Griffith would be attracted to, which would be
Guts. Um,
yes.
uh, and then we get backstory time. What did you think of Casca's backstory?
Um, I mean, I it was honestly more basic than I thought it would be, but I don't know if that's like the best way to describe it, but it was I don't know. It was more simple than I thought.
I think it's meant to reflect Guts' backstory.
Yeah.
Because they've both been sexually assaulted, and no one saved Guts, but Griffith saved
Yeah.
Casca. And Guts' takeaway is that he always needs his sword so it doesn't happen again. Um, Whereas Casca's like, we gotta stay by Griffith so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Um, that's a nice panel of him.
I-
And I also like that he just hands her a sword and tells her to do it. Like he doesn't save her himself.
yeah. I did like that. Where and part of me was like wondering because I'm just like, well, like I feel like there must have been a reason why he did it that way. Oh, though having her backstory made me realize that out of like everyone, it seems like Crocus has been with him even longer than Guts and longer than Casca. So it's like, oh,
Yeah,
is there?
we got the whole rest of the crew is already there when she joins up.
Yeah. And I had been thinking she was like one of the OG ones.
Corcus is still a dick.
Oh, always.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so it's sort of like I do like that she stabs the dude herself. Um,
Yes.
and but also to go back to when he saved her, sort of like once again Griffith is towering over her, so that's why she
Mm-hmm.
like didn't react to him being all I don't need friends. I blah blah blah. Like they need to be my equal. She already got that message from Jump.
Yeah.
Um, and then to go more to shoujo anime, I feel like this page and paneling is all the shoujo manga. Despite
Yes.
it just dealing with sexual assault. Um, but yeah, so we got some good political intrigue. We got Guts has daddy feelings. Guts has Griffith
Mm-hmm.
feelings. And now we're getting Casca backstory.
Yeah. And Guts accidentally killing, well, not accidentally, but like killing the son when he wasn't planning on it,
Yeah.
I feel like does add a little layer. Um,
And
so, like, I almost wonder if he would be struggling as much as he is with his, like, are we the baddies if he hadn't killed the son.
I think it's also um he maybe wouldn't have rushed to see Griffith so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um because it's sort of like I just did this thing that's really bad and I need someone to tell me I did what I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Um and he maybe would have like cleaned up first before telling Griffith he mission successful.
Right.
Um anyway, next volume. This time I pulled up the table of contents for the next volume.
All right.
We get a little bit more Casca backstory.
Okay.
Then we get a story arc called Prepared for Death. What do you
Oh.
think that one's about?
Um, I mean, death. I feel like it's almost like, is it gonna be Guts, like, almost putting like if he can't be Griffith's friend, I could see Guts being like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go back to like not caring about my life anymore."
All right, then we got Survival,
All right.
and then we have Campfire of Dreams,
Ooh.
and then we have The Battle for Doldre. Which obviously the battle for Doldre is going to be a giant battle. But what do you think Campfire of Dreams is going to be about?
I mean, my first thought was like, "Oh, somebody put drugs in the campfire," but then I'm like, "No, that's probably not it."
Probably not.
um, yeah, it makes me wonder if it's like maybe this is a moment where uh because like Griffith was talking about how his dream like eats other people's dreams. Like maybe this could be a moment where uh like maybe Guts decides he has his own dream and kind of thing. That's my assumption.
Yeah, it's a good guess. I won't tell you if you're right or wrong. But
I'll find out next week.
yeah. Um, I'm gonna refresh my memory to see what Prepared for Death is. Do do do. All right. I had assumptions, but I've confirmed my assumptions.
uh
But yeah, so I'm gonna write down what you thought it was gonna be. Okay, so you thought
Yeah.
Guts is gonna not care about himself anymore.
Yes.
Campfire of Dreams, you think Guts gets his own dream, or Guts...
Yeah, that Guts gets his own dream.
And that dream is to kiss Griffith. And then Battle of Doldre is obviously going to be a battle.
Yeah.
So we're reading to part 4 of the Battle for Doldre.
Okay.
And let's see, how many parts are there for that? There are 6 parts to Battle for Doldre, so we won't get a complete story. We'll be ending midway. It's a long battle.
Okay. Well, no, I'll ask you offline. I don't want to promise anything to listeners.
All right. No, we'll just read till part 4 of Battle for Doldre.
Okay.
And so tune in next week, folks, which
Yeah.
is the 27th. Same Berserk time, same Berserk channel. We're going to talk about the rest of Casca's deal and other things. Bones, where can people find your stuff?
At bonesleopard.com.
You can find my stuff
Where
at
can they find
calmcdonald.com. We did not pick which panel we're going to use.
Oh, I mean, I kind of think him smiling, like the angry, I'm smiling, but I'm pissed.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm titling the episode. I'm smiling, but really I'm fucking furious. We need to find a not Griffith panel for the next episode.
That's fair.
We've used Griffith 3 times in a row.
Whoops.
All
Oh
right.
man, there was this I don't know if it was like a TikTok or Instagram reel or something, but a little clip going on where it was at a gym and this lady was struggling with lifting up the bar, so this guy walks over to spot her and her phone falls out of her pocket and her screensaver is a picture of Griffith. And he pulls out his phone and his is Guts, and he just shakes his head and walks away while she's still struggling with the bar.
Yeah.
And it was just like, there's no helping Griffith fans.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we'll end it there. No helping Griffith fans. Guts is in trouble. Goodbye, everyone. If you want, you can stick
Goodbye.
around while we draw and talk about random stuff. But have a good one. See you next week.